Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the P. Carroll Sport Podcast with myself, Paul Carroll, on this Monday, the 19th of May, 2025. And what a great day it is to be from Tipperary, and we've a lot to get through on this week's episode of the podcast. We'll be looking back on everything that happened yesterday in Thurles. Of course, a 130 to 121 win over Waterford in what was a must-win game for Tipperary. We're going to be talking through all the players, all their performances, what it means for Tipperary, the game in general, and we'll have a look ahead to what's to come for Tipperary down the tracks as well. So as always, big thanks to everyone tuning in the last couple of weeks. Podcast is going well. YouTube channel is growing. We're nearly up to 400 subscribers now. And last week we got over 100 likes on the podcast on the YouTube video. So that was a first ever. So if you're watching now, give us a like, subscribe to the channel. It's all free. And we hope you enjoyed. As always, we'll talk through the match, what happened. I'll give my opinions on it. And just a general chat on what was a brilliant win for Tipperary in Thurles yesterday. So let's just jump straight into it. 130 to 121. Brilliant win for Tip, a much needed victory. I was very nervous heading down to Thurles yesterday. I like, anytime anyone asked me about the game, all I was saying was I really want them to win this game. I don't know what's going to happen, but I just really want them to win because, like, if Tip had lost yesterday, it would have been an all-time bad buzz. They would have been finished for the year. Any bit of progress made this year would have been just kind of not thrown out the window, but in a lot of people's eyes, it probably would have been thrown out the window, and it would have been the same old questions and stuff we've been hearing the last couple of years with this Tip team and Liam Cahill as a manager and our teams, peaking too early and all this stuff. So absolutely delighted the lads got over the line, and they done it in style for a finish, a 9-point win. Of course, we'll talk through the game in general. It was a very close game coming down the stretch, but Tipperary, like they did against Clare, they kind of weathered the storm and they finished really well. And I suppose unlike the Clare game where Tip started really well, they didn't start that well against Waterford, which we'll get down through. So, as always, at P. Carroll Sport is the Twitter, and it's the same handle over on Instagram as well if you want to follow. Have been having a little bit of fun on Twitter. I had a few tweets bookmarked from a few weeks ago. I should have bookmarked more of people just saying that Tip were going to finish bottom of Munster and things like that. So I gave it the Mourinho gif of of that. I should have bookmarked a few more, but I saw the lads in the Premier Review podcast had a great tweet of it was Liam Cahill, it was Colin Parkinson and Brian Carroll speaking on the Smaller Fish podcast about Liam Cahill doing the same thing every year and teams peaking too early and what's he doing kind of thing, and having a bit of a laugh. So the Premier Review lads had that ready to go. They had the receipts. And they had it ready to go there on Twitter last night. So that was a narrative that's been thrown at Liam Cahill and teams all for the last couple of years. And I always found it a little bit lazy. It was a little bit of a lazy argument, that teams were peaking too early and they'd run out of steam and things like that. I think the last couple of years, Liam Cahill and his management team have had to do a lot of sorting through the Tipperary team that was there in terms of filtering in new lads, filtering out some of the older players, and just kind of shaping the team into the way he wants it. And that does take time. And Liam will tell you himself that, we're not the finished article by any means, but we're definitely going in the right direction. And, when the team was performing well during the league this year, it was still kind of been thrown out there that, are we peaking too early when we got to the league final? And, are we going to fall apart? And in fairness, big opening round draw against Limerick. Yes, that big defeat to Cork in the second round with the 14 men. Massive win down in Ennis, and then just that performance yesterday in Thurles to round off what was a really good Munster round robin championship for Tipperary. So the game itself started on the back foot very much for Tip. Stephen Bennett, the game was delayed by 10 minutes. Myself and Ken Hogan on commentary had an extra 10 minutes to talk through the game. And if you're a new listener, I commentate on the games on Tip FM, so that's would have been my vantage point from the game yesterday in Thurles. We had an extra 10 minutes to just talk about the game beforehand, and I'd say we spent most of that 10 minutes saying how Tip need a good start, and how Tommy Dunn was saying on across the line on Tip FM on Friday evening how he was saying that Tip can't afford to be opened up early and concede goals early like they did against Cork. So we spent the 10 minutes of the delay talking about all that. And then, 10 seconds into the game, Stephen Bennett has the ball in the back of the net. And about 15 seconds after that, I think was it Jamie Barron had one put over the bar. So before you knew it, it was 1-3 to a point. Jake Morris got a good first score for Tipperary. But yeah, it was like the dream start for Waterford, and you're kind of thinking, right. But there was a really good Tip crowd there. There was 28,758 people there, and I'd say a good 23,000 of that were Tipperary, and they were very vocal. As the Tip support, as I've said it here before, the Tip support that do go to games, and they've been criticised for maybe not going to games, but the ones that are always there and are always at the games are always really vocal, and they really help the team. And we saw that yesterday. There was a big Tipperary crowd there, big vocal crowd, and before the ball was even thrown in, they were getting the tip chants going. So that was great to see. But yeah, Tip kind of weathered that early storm. The goal itself was just a kind of mishit ball from Jamie Barron off the throw and going for a point that just kind of it looked like he was going for a point anyway. It hung up in the air. There was a breeze down in Thurles. Michael Breen was kind of caught under it. Stephen Bennett snapped it in behind him. Rhys Shelley had to come out, just didn't get anything on it. He had to come out to try and block the shot. He wasn't able to get out to try and contest the high ball, but he got out to it. But Stephen Bennett had it finished past him before he could really kind of get out to him and close down the angle. So that was the first score. The puck out went short to the wing-back position. Jamie Barron overturned it over the bar. It went. And yeah, it was kind of like, right, we're on the back foot here straight away. But that, Jake Morris got a big score for Tipperary. He got 4 points in the first half. That kind of got Tipperary going, got the Tip crowd something to cheer about. And slowly but surely, Tipperary eked their way back into it in that first half. Eventually led 16 points to 110 at half-time. But Waterford will be kicking themselves in that first half. They missed, I think they had 9 points, 9 wides in the first half. And, some of them were kind of scoreable ones, mishit frees from Stephen Bennett. Dara Lyons, I feel like he was a name that popped up for a good few wides. Jamie Barron, in fairness to him, he got 4 points, but he hit a few wides as well. So that was a disappointing thing from a Waterford point of view. But for Tipperary, we really kept in the game. Jake Morris with 4 points in the first half. Jake is just hurling out of his skin at the minute. He's doing it all. He's up and down the field. He's hooking and blocking. He's setting up scores, hitting nice ball into the forwards. He's scoring himself. Real leadership stuff from Jake Morris. Andrew Ormond was just incredible yesterday. Showing for the ball, making it stick. Everywhere. He was everywhere. He was running in behind. He was showing himself. There was one stage where John McGrath got onto a ball, and Andy Ormond had made a run behind him, and he was gone on the edge of the 21, a little pop hand pass, and he was in for goal. But I suppose John, when he was turning, and I have the view anyway from up at the top of the gantry, like looking down so you can see everything. I'm sure when you're pitch level and you're under pressure, you mightn't see that run. But I think John popped it over the bar himself. But Andy Ormond had made that run, and he was making so many of those runs in behind and just showing himself. And it probably worked well that Ty DeBorca, they're speaking about it on the Sunday game as well, was kind of sitting back. And in my head I thought, maybe we'll put Noel McGrath there, and Noel McGrath will drift off him and things like that. But no, they put Andy Ormond there, and Andy Ormond was able to drift off, but also had the pace as well to go in around the back. And he probably has that freedom, I think, to just go, if he sees a gap, sees that there could be a hand pass on to him, just go for it. And that's what he's been doing the last 2 games. And in fairness to him, he's able to spot that, and then he's able to kind of execute when the ball comes his way. So Andy Ormond, I think his confidence has really increased the last couple of games. I would imagine the 2-1 he scored down in Ennis has done an awful lot for him in that department. But he was showing for ball. Rhys Shelley was pinging puck outs that were sticking into his hands. He was turning. I think he won 5 frees. Andy Ormond, it could have been a black card, definitely one of them where he had broken through and was inside the 14 and he was fouled. I'm not sure which Waterford defender it was. Billy Nolan came out. It was kind of a mixture of Billy Nolan and the Waterford defender. It could have been a black card. The ref had given advantage. So what's the advantage for it? Must have been a free. If it's a free, it's surely a penalty, or it's surely stopping a goal-scoring opportunity if it's a free in that manner when he's bearing down on goals. So then you're looking at a black card. Andrew Ormond, when he's on the ground, I think he just kind of threw the ball up to John McGrath and he batted it over the bar, and Sean Stack kind of just said, right, let's just give that point and will forget about it, like from his point of view, I think. So, look, it's not easy being a referee, I'm sure, but that one seemed to be maybe a bit of a, would you call it a bailout, where you're just like, right, they got the point. I don't really want to give a black card if I'm not 300% sure of it. Tip were fortunate to get a black card call go their way in the under-20 final during the week against Clare. So, that narrative was probably out there that, black cards can ruin games or can really change games. So, Sean Stack is human as well. So that's the way that went. But that was very frustrating from a Tipperary point of view. Similar one in the second half. The second half one was where Darren McCarthy caught the ball, turned his man. He didn't have a hurley at the time, Darren McCarthy, and he was just kind of wrapped around and pulled back. And, the argument there, and the argument I think Michael Dignan was making on the TV coverage, was that, is it a goal scoring opportunity if he doesn't have his hurley? So I don't know, but it was another one that could have been a penalty black card on another day. But when you win a game by 9 points, you don't need to worry about decisions like that. But yeah, that first half for Tipperary, as I said, John McGrath left it with 2 points. Sam O'Farrell got a really good score. I actually thought it was John McGrath when I was commentating on the game, because it was at the far side of the field and the green and blue helmet. And it was just because Sam O'Farrell was so far up as well. And the ball broke from a puck out. Sam O'Farrell had made that run, and he's doing that a lot from puck outs where there's just space, and he's just going and drifting off. And it was batted back towards Ronan Maher. Ronan absolutely drilled the ball at Sam O'Farrell's ankles. Really difficult one to control. And Sam O'Farrell controls it, cuts in on his left, out in the sideline on the 45, and just slats it over the bar. Now, Sam O'Farrell, that was his only score he got of the day. I thought he looked tired, and how understandable is that? He played the game down in Clare last week, then he came on for the under-20s during the week, and now back again, and he was cramping last week. So he looked a little bit tired for the second half, and he was replaced by Darragh Stakelum. But Sam O'Farrell, rest up and prepare for that under-20 final in a couple of weeks' time. But he's been incredible. This is his debut season at senior, and how important has he been to this senior team. So elsewhere in the first half, Darren McCarthy knocking over the frees. Jason Ford with 2 sidelines, one on either side of the field. Really good stuff from Jason Ford. And the second half then started kind of back and forth stuff. Tip did extend the lead out a little bit, but then Waterford reeled Tip back in, and with 50 minutes on the clock, it had gotten back level. And Tip, I think, were 20 points to 111 up maybe at one stage, and it got it back to 20 points to 117. A couple of throw balls went in there against Tipperary. The Robert Doyle one, I think, in the middle of the field, when the lads were kind of going through a short passing in between the 265s, that looked like a throw. And then the other one was a Tip player was coming out. I think it might have been Craig Morgan, maybe. It was one of the white helmet defenders, of which there's many for Tipperary, coming out, and on the 45 kind of was on the ground. And the replay is a terrible replay. The replay is the ball has already left his hand when they show the replay. So Sean Stack was right there, so it must have been a throw ball. So Stephen Bennett put that ball over the bar, and then you're kind of thinking, right, we're back to level. We really need to get something going here. We brought on Noel McGrath at that point. And when it got back level is when Tipperary upped the gears a little bit. And Darren McCarthy wins the next couple of balls, wins the next couple of frees, one of them being that time where it could have been a black card, but showed for the ball really well. Tip go back into about a 3-point lead. That's when Darragh Stakelum pops one out to Noel McGrath. That goes over the bar, 4 points in it. Waterford go short to Conor Prunty with the puck out. He tries a really risky pass in the middle of the field. It's cut out, and Jason Ford has a put back over the bar. That was a quick run of scores for Tipperary. They'd go up by 6. Then they bring on Oisin O'Donoghue, and 15 seconds later, the ball's in the back of the net, and that kind of felt like the winning score for Tipperary. So that kind of period after it came back level, Tipperary upped it, got the next few scores, and there was a nice mix of the experience in Noel McGrath, and then the youth in Darragh McCarthy and Oisin O'Donoghue as well, with Jason Ford coming in for a score there as well in that period. So that was kind of the winning of the game for Tipperary, really, was that kind of 7-8 minute spell after Waterford drew level. But let's talk about Oisin O'Donoghue. He comes onto the field and puck out, he comes on for Jason Ford. Puck out goes short to the I think was it maybe Michael Breen, then back to Rhys Shelley. Rhys Shelley launches it long, and Darren McCarthy brilliantly gets onto the break. It breaks down on like the edge of the Waterford D. Darren McCarthy gets onto it. And Andy Ormond again has gone. He's made that run. He's there available if he wants it on Darren McCarthy's left-hand side. On his right-hand side, Oisin O'Donoghue peels out and opens things up. Darren McCarthy, I suppose the easier pass is always across your body with a hand pass, so he wasn't going to be able to pass it forward to Andrew Ormond. And he passed it to Oisin O'Donoghue. Oisin O'Donoghue kind of has to catch it. And Billy Nolan, the Waterford goalkeeper, who hadn't conceded a goal in 5 out of 9 games, I think, up to that point, hadn't conceded a goal in the Munster Championship, closed the angle really well. And it looked like the chance had maybe gone, and Oisin O'Donoghue turned back in, then just kind of on the turn threw it up. And a real composed, small, underneath the bodies kind of finish into the corner. Did take the maximum amount of steps. Like, he wouldn't want to have taken another step, or it definitely would have been called. But I suppose when you're in that kind of striking motion, you maybe get away with another step or two. But what a moment for Oisin O'Donoghue. Do you know, what a week for Oisin O'Donoghue. Made his debut for Tip Seniors in the championship against Clare last week. Man of the match, with one of the best performances you'll ever see in the under-20 final during the week. And then coming on to score a goal after 15 seconds in a must-win game in the last game of the Munster round robin for Tipperary in the senior championship. So incredible week for Oisin O'Donoghue. He'd get the last score of the game with a point as well to finish with 1-1. But yeah, incredible stuff from him. So that point, or that goal, kind of really done it for Tipperary. But Waterford did come back into it, and before that goal, Waterford did have a few half chances. I'm not sure was it before or after that, where Stephen Bennett had that chance from, not chance, he had a shot from, you know, the edge of the arc, so 40 metres out, and top spinned it, bounced right in front of Rhys Shelley. Like, playing in goals myself when I was playing, those are balls you hate to see coming, because you can't be beaten from 40 yards out, but they're really awkward to deal with when they're bouncing in front of you and bodies around you. But Rhys Shelley dealt well with it, and talking to one of the lads who was behind it over at the far side in the newsstand and saw it the whole way, he was saying that if it was like a club field or whatever, the top spin on the ball, the way it bounced, it could have easily went in. But Rhys Shelley, in fairness, got that save away. But the other thing I wanted to mention, and it's a man that listeners of the podcast will know that I'm a big fan of, is Brian O'Mara. He'd done it twice in the second half, where he was chasing after a man and just flicks it off their hurley perfectly. One was on Gavin Fives, where it's just brilliant time, and just to knock it away from Gavin Fives as he's going on the run. But the important one was, I think it was Shane Bennett breaking onto a ball, running through, and like he was inside the 21, bearing down on goals. And just Brian O'Mara stays with him and just comes from behind and flicks it away perfectly. Like, you know, Brian O'Mara needs to be going around the county giving clinics and coaching clinics to youngsters on hooking and blocking. He's so good at it. It's unbelievable. Like, he's probably one of the best I've seen, definitely in tip jersey in the last few years. Like, you know, for just hooking and blocking. And, you know, that's not all he can do. He's a brilliant ball player as well, and just a brilliant player all around. But that flick he does is just brilliant from behind, and it gets him it gets Tipperary out of sticky situations a lot. So that was a really key intervention. Later in the game, Waterford did have a 21-yard free that Stephen Bennett took, and he's such a good striker of the ball, Stephen Bennett. I think it was Willie Connors who stopped it on the line. So Willie Connors stops it. It goes out towards the corner flag, and I think it's a Patrick Fitzgerald for Waterford gathers it, wheels out, looks to fire a ball across the edge of the 21, and Willie Connors spots it. After making the stop on the line, he makes a sprint out the field and cuts that pass out on the 21, and Tipperary work it up the field. I think that was then to Jake Morris. Jake plays a perfect ball in to Shawnee Kennelly, and over the bar it goes. So that was like a huge moment, and Willie Connors, like, what a warrior for Tipperary. Goes off with it as a blood sub temporarily, comes back in. He's so brave, throws himself into the ball, but always throws himself into tackles, but always looking for the ball, composed on it. And, you know, I was saying earlier in some of the earlier podcasts how he was probably in the best form of his Tipperary career during the league, and then maybe he kind of lost out at the start of the championship in terms of starting the games. Started the other day and started yesterday and was just brilliant, I thought, in the middle of the field. Gets through so much work, real combative, but composed when he has the ball in his possession. And we saw that on a couple of occasions. So, yeah, that's how the game played out, 130 to 121. Some other key things of note, Darragh Lyons with a really nice line ball. It was really something you don't always see. He completely fresh-aired it at one stage. Fresh-aired it, didn't hit the ball at all, took a step back, and like it was probably a good one if you're in the supporters, because or in the crowd. I'd imagined, that some of the Tip supporters were probably like, way, after he fresh-aired the ball, and then he takes a step back and puts it over the bar. So that was a nice score there from Darragh Lyons from the line ball. But yeah, I'll run down through my kind of player-by-player ratings in general, but that's the kind of overarching kind of narrative of the game and how it played out, the story of the game. 11 points for Darren McCarthy. He's so good in the frees. Like, he had a lot of frees that were like on the 45 and ones you'd be expecting him to score, but he did score them all. And 11 points for him. And I mentioned that kind of period of the game where Waterford got back level, and it was Darren McCarthy who won a couple of frees, was out in front of his man, popping off ball. Really, really good from Darren McCarthy. And it's like leadership from a 19-year-old. It's brilliant stuff from Darren McCarthy. But yeah, that the win means Tip are guaranteed a place in the All-Ireland series now for the first time in 2 years. And that was the first time since in 6 years since Tipperary have won back-to-back games in Munster. First time in 6 years that Tip have won a Munster Championship game in Thurles in Semple Stadium. It's also the first time in 6 years. It was this day, May 19th, 2019, that Tip last bet Waterford in the Championship. So it had been 3 losses and a draw for Tipperary since then. So yesterday was a good day to be a Tipperary supporter for sure. So yeah, guaranteed a place in the All-Ireland series. And if Waterford win or Waterford draw against Cork next weekend, then Tip will be in a Munster final against Limerick. So that's how it's going. And Cork had a really poor performance against Limerick yesterday. But they'll be expected, I suppose, to beat Waterford at home. But they lost to Waterford last year, and I think Waterford will be kind of encouraged by what they saw in the Gaelic grounds. They can lick their wounds after losing to Tipperary yesterday, which would have been bitterly disappointing because Waterford are trying to get out of the Munster round robin for the first time ever. So they would have seen yesterday as a big chance to do that. But they'll lick their wounds today and tomorrow and get back at it and have a real cut at Cork next week. So that'll be interesting to see. If Cork do win, though, Tip will be in a preliminary quarter-final. That will be on June 15th. That weekend. The Munster final is fixed for June 7th. But how good is it as a Tipperary supporter? It's just to have our feet up for the next week. I'm literally sitting here with my feet up on another chair. But that's how we're going to be for next weekend. Just sit back, enjoy the other 2 Munster games, and get ready for whatever's to come in the next few months, because as I was saying earlier, it would have been an awful buzz if Tip were bet yesterday, and you would have heard the same old crap of some of these players and the management team and peaking too early and not good enough, and we half in the players and we would have heard that for a whole summer again and a whole winter again. So instead, we're still in the Championship. The buzz is prolonged for at least another month for Tipperary, and it's just so good. It's so needed because, God, last year commentating on the games, it was tough sledding. Whereas this year now, it's been very enjoyable, and 2 in a row for Tipperary in the Munster Championship. We'll definitely take that. And as I was saying at the start, fair play to all the players and management. The effort they've put in, the conditioning of the players, how comfortable they are, how brave they are in possession in terms of Reece Shelley playing puck outs that are just pinpoint accurate, just over the heads and hurleys of defenders, right into the hands of Tipperary players, launching attacks. Really, really good from Tipperary, really impressive, and really, it's very heartening as a Tipperary supporter to be able to look out at a team and be proud of what you're seeing. And I think that's what Liam Cahill has been talking about for the last couple of years, in terms of that's what he wants from his team, to be a team that the Tip supporters can look out and be proud of. Let's go down through the player ratings. So we're 24 minutes into this, so if you're still watching, don't want to be harping on, but a like on the video and a subscribe to the channel would be a great help. Nearly at 400. It's all free stuff. at P Carroll Sport on Twitter as well. Any retweets and likes on the post about this podcast are always very much appreciated. So let's go down through the performances. Reece Shelley, puck outs just incredible. Like Joe, he's pinging him at the minute. He's very confident in that goal, spraying ball left, right, and centre, long, short, whatever way you like. Really good from Reece Shelley. The goal itself, as I said, he had to come off his line to try and close down Stephen Bennett, but it was just in the back of the net before he could really adjust to it. So I'm trying to think, he'd no other saves to make, unless it was him who saved that 21. I've credited Willie Connors with stopping it, but no other real saves to make that I can remember for Reece Shelley. But just, really, really good from the puck outs. Robert Doyle got a yellow card for pushing and shoving with Desi Hutchinson at the start of the second half. But Robert Doyle, I mean, didn't probably say his name too much in commentary, but he was just flicking ball away. Just, Desi Hutchinson left the field with a point. So, a good day's out for Robert Doyle there, and just so settled back there. You've no fear of him back there at all. Owen Connolly scored 3 points. The long range freeze again from Owen Connolly. He also got one that was in the first half, was a Hawkeye. Went to Hawkeye and it just crept in. That was off his left hand side. So, what? Like I've been saying this, what an asset, what a weapon Owen Connolly has been this year, and it's probably a point I've been thinking of making. I'll probably make it now. A lot of credit, and rightly so, has gone to the Tipperary under-20s this year of Sam O'Farrell, Darren McCarthy and Oisin O'Donoghue, lads that have featured in the championship for Tipperary, and how important they are, and they are very important obviously. But I think where Tipperary have also made a lot of gains in terms of performances is the under-20s of 2019, that team that won in 2019 and 2018 and the under-21 and under-20 All-Ireland finals, how much they've stepped up this year. And you'd imagine because Liam Cowell was over those teams that he's probably comfortable with these players are comfortable with him. But the improvements we've seen from those players has been huge for this Tipperary team. Owen Connolly, Brian O'Mara, how good they've been this year. Craig Morgan, renewed out at midfield and kind of half back line. He was really good again. Connor Stakelum, Andy Ormond, and Jake Morris, like all those players, how important they've kind of been in the last couple of games for Tipperary. And they would have kind of all come from those two teams back a few years ago as well. So really good stuff from Owen Connolly. Powerful, like he's a huge man. He's in some nick, and like the long range frees are just like lasers. Like they're not moving at all. They're just big old, just leathered it straight down the pipe. So accurate. We saw him doing it with Cashel last year, but doing it with Tipperary is a different kettle of fish, and he's been doing it with Tipperary all year, as has Michael Breen. I mean, he came out with a couple of balls, as he does every game, where it's just pure power, getting the ball off the ground quickly, spinning, and he's away. There's no stopping him when he gets going. And he got a one time where he bust through Stephen Bennett near the end, and then I think was it Dara Lyons who just jumped on him on the ground for some reason, and Dara Lyons got a yellow card for that. But Michael Breen has just been, I've said it on each podcast, how consistent he's been all year. And that hasn't changed at all. If you're wondering what I'm looking at, it's just the sheet I have when I'm commentating. I may switch my camera. This is going to be backwards for you, but like this is what I'm looking at when I'm commentating. So I just mark off when the player has scored and things like that. So that's what I'm looking at here. If you're wondering what I'm looking at, because I have all the subs and scores and everything. So that's what I'm looking at. But back to Sam O'Farrell, he got a point. As I said, he kind of looked a little bit tired in the second half, dropped a few balls. Remember there was that time where, and he gets through, I'd say his GPS, like he gets up and down that field some amount of time. And who was it, Jake? Or no, it was Darren McCarthy popped the ball out to him. And if he caught it, he was nearly in for a goal, but he just dropped it. And that was probably a symptom of just fatigue rather than anything from Sam O'Farrell. But that point he got in the first half was brilliant, and making the runs for the puck outs as well, where there's a bit of space and Reece Shelley will launch one long into that space and Sam O'Farrell is gone. Good performance from him, and a well-needed rest for Sam O'Farrell in these next week or 10 days. Ronan Maher, really good at centre-back, really good at the end of the game. Well, at the start of the game as well, Billy Nolan, the Waterford goalie, sent a puck out long down on top of Michael Kiley. Ronan Maher just caught it and took it off down the field, and that was maybe one of the last puck outs that was hit towards Ronan Maher. Late in the game as well, a ball landed in around the edge of the 14. Ronan comes down with it as well, and it was a real kind of return to form from Ronan. He was good last week as well, but the first kind of couple of games in the championship, we were a little bit worried about Ronan's form, and he'd given away a couple of balls, but he seems to have turned that around now, like we all expected he would. Ronan is an incredible player, and he's got back to good form, and a really good performance from him yesterday as well. Brian O'Mara, I could wax lyrical here for 20 minutes about how much I love his style of play, but his defending was so good yesterday. There was that time as well where the ball was coming over his head in the second half, and he touches it down to himself, pings a pass out, and Tip go down the other end of the field and get a point. He was just brilliant, really good. And for Brian O'Mara, he was centre back 2 years in a row on a Fitzgibbon Cup winning team, captained UL to 2 Fitzgibbon Cups. Was an unbelievable player at that grade, was very good underage as well. But the Fitzgibbon Cup, while all the top young players are playing in it, it's not played at anywhere near a level of a Munster championship in inter-county senior hurling. So while he was really good at that level, you were wondering, would he transition up through the ranks? And he really has. We were maybe worried maybe a couple of years ago, and he's still so young, but a couple of years ago, he kind of wasn't influencing the games as much as maybe we saw in the Fitzgibbon Cup, where now he's really kind of getting into the games and affecting games, hooking and blocking, knocking puck outs down, catching ball, spraying ball. I always talk about his striking and how much I like watching him strike the ball. And he does try the risky pass sometimes because he knows he can pull it off. He knows he can letter one right at your forehead for you to catch it. But I thought Brian O'Mara was really good yesterday, and long may that continue. He's playing unreal stuff at the minute. Willie Connors, just so good in the middle of the field, battling for possession, winning possession, throwing himself in front of tackles, blocking 21-yard frees, sprinting out, blocking passes. Doing it all was Willie Connors. Was off as a temporary sub there at one stage, came back on, and great performance from him. Craig Morgan as well, another really solid performance from Craig. He had a really important block in the second half. It was Shane Bennett got in behind, was it Michael Breen or Brian O'Mara, and was bearing down on goals, and Craig Morgan just comes flying across sweeper position and just comes flying across to get a real key block in. Really comfortable on the ball and really comfortable in his positioning at the minute is Craig Morgan, so a great performance from him. Conor Stakelum was really getting himself about that middle third. That's kind of his job in there, just spoiling possession. He's big, he's physical, he loves kind of throwing himself into those rucks, so he'd done his job really well. Andy Ormond, 3 points for him, fouled 5 or 6 times for frees that were scored, could have won a penalty, could have scored a goal maybe if a ball was played to him on a couple of occasions. I mentioned that John McGrath one and the Oisin O'Donoghue goal that Darren McCarthy passed for. Darren McCarthy also had the option of Andy Ormond there as well. So Andy Ormond has just been brilliant these last couple of games, and speaking to him after the game, he came out and we done media interviews with him. Just seems to be really enjoying it, his hurling at the minute, and great to see. And his brother Jamie featuring for the under-20s, and Jamie is underage for the under-20s again next year as well. So really good times in the Ormond household in Templemore. Noel McGrath didn't start, so Darren McCarthy started instead of him. I've mentioned how key he was kind of late in the game when it was a draw, winning those balls back and just nailing every free over the bar. I think he might have hit 1 or 2 wides from play, but I don't remember missing a free. I think he nailed them all, and that's so important. You could take that for granted, but I don't think we do, because it's so important. Is the free taking, and Darren McCarthy is among the top in the country at the minute, I'd imagine, for kind of accuracy statistics from placed balls. Jake Morris, I mentioned him at the start, 4 points from play, all in the first half, set up a couple of points as well, but was just working all over the field and leadership and showing for the ball and taking lads on, and brilliant stuff from Jake Morris. I mentioned it on commentary as well, the development we've seen from Jake in the 5 or 6 years, the last 5 or 6 years, maybe since 2019, since Tip 1, and he was coming on as a sub, as a young lad on those teams. But now he's developed from that kind of young lad coming into the games late on into a real leader on this Tipperary team. and we saw that again yesterday. John McGrath with 2 points. Joe was very good up there. Could have had that goal, one of the points that he got, he batted it over the bar. But John hurling really good stuff, and a difficult task for him in there with Conor Prunty on him, because Prunty is a real kind of physical defender that is right on top of you a lot of the game. Jason Ford then with 3 points, two being sidelines, and one being the one that, after Noel McGrath's point, Waterford went short to Conor Prunty. He hit it cut out Jason Ford over the bar. So solid stuff from Jason. The subs that come on then, Darius Stakelum done really well setting up Noel McGrath's point, getting himself in around those rucks. Had a shot himself that went wide, but really good stuff. Seamus Kennedy come out with a few important balls at the end of the game, and it's so, I think I mentioned it last week as well, it's so nice to have the likes of Seamus Kennedy coming on, just the composure he has, coming out with the ball and coming into a game. You know, it's not like he's going to be kind of jittery coming on, because he's so experienced and plays a real key role in seeing out games for Tipperary at the minute, does Seamus Kennedy. So great to see him in the form he's in, as is Noel McGrath. He comes on, gets that score, nearly gets another brilliant score late on as well. But just, yeah, how good is it? Just we're just so fortunate to have someone like Noel McGrath, who's willing to play whatever role he's asked of, whether it's coming onto the field late in games or whether it's starting. And he's just a joy to watch, Noel McGrath. The other subs then, Oisin O'Donoghue, I think he did pretty well. Yeah, he scored 1-1. He scored a goal after about 15 seconds of coming on. And yeah, what a week for Oisin O'Donoghue. And Shawnee Kennelly come on and got a brilliant score over at the newsstand side of the field, right out on the sideline. And he got a yellow card as well for letting Desi Hutchinson know that he dropped the ball out over the line. He just kind of ran into the back of him. So yeah, for those are the Tipperary performances. For Waterford, I'm surprised they didn't bring on Austin Gleeson. I'm not sure what's happening there. Just didn't bring him on. Stephen Bennett scored 1-9. He's such a threat, and he's such a kind of unique kind of hurler. Even to his strike, like the way he strikes the ball, it's kind of like, it's hard to. He strikes kind of low. You know, most people when you're striking, the boss of the hurley is nearly behind their head and it's up high as they're striking, whereas his one, the boss is like hip height as he's striking, and he kind of like baseball bat nearly kind of style striking, but he's a brilliant striker of the ball. It's just a unique style he has. And he was very good yesterday. Such a handful and kind of deceptively fast is Stephen Bennett as well when he gets going. Jamie Barron with 4 points, probably guilty of a couple of wides there as well, Jamie Barron. But elsewhere, Mark Fitzgerald, like I'm really impressed with Mark Fitzgerald and how good he's been this year, but he wasn't as influential yesterday as he has been in other games. But Waterford probably disappointed with their kind of return from the inside forwards. Michael Kiley with 2 points. But Michael Kiley was kind of moving around the field. He was out the field a lot as well, as was Jack Prendergast. Like, he wasn't playing as a corner forward. Desi Hutchinson, just the 1 point for him. Sean Walsh come on and got a point. Patrick Fitzgerald come on and got a point. One for Kevin Mahoney. Paddy Levy and Darragh Lyons chipped in with points as well. But Desi Hutchinson, yeah, he was very frustrated coming off the field. If you're on the old stand side of the field, you probably saw this if you're around the tunnel. Desi Hutchinson, when he was coming off, do you know the end of the dugout, there's that kind of silver railing as you go up towards the stand where the subs were sitting, and he just broke his hurley off that rail and just leathered it. The boss went flying towards the fourth officials table kind of dangerously, but then the rest of the hurley, so the hurley broke at the boss, right down where kind of you'd have the tape at the bottom of the hurley. It broke there because that's where he wore it off the pole. And then the rest of the hurley, the grip down to like the rest of the maybe 25 inches down towards where it broke, he just threw that and it like went towards the tunnel, and there's a small kind of fence at the tunnel that's only maybe kind of just above knee height kind of, or maybe around hip height, and he just threw the hurley that way, and there was a guard there and the hurley hit the fence like right in front of the guard and a couple of the officials that would be down there, and they were having a few words with him. It was a real silly thing from Desi Hutchinson to do. He was obviously very frustrated, but you can't be doing that either. And like, you know, the way he just kind of threw the hurley, it kind of could have went anywhere, but he was very frustrated. And just as a captain of a team, you kind of, you know, it's easy for me to say, you know, you kind of have to hold your head in that sense, but you can't be going around throwing hurleys like that. So, like, you know, if I wouldn't be surprised if something came of that, is all I'm going to say. But you know, I'm not calling for that or anything. But it's just unwise stuff from Desi Hutchinson, to say the least. But back to a Tipperary point of view, just brilliant, just absolutely delighted. Driving home yesterday, even stuck in traffic, you don't mind. You're just buzzing. You just and you know, we're in the All Ireland series now. We've a All Ireland under-20 final to look forward to in 2 weeks' time, and then the weekend after that is the Munster final. Whether we're there or not, we don't know. And then the weekend after that is the preliminary All Ireland quarter final. So you know, it's brilliant for this group of Tip players, players and management, that they've at least another month on the road. We've another month to look forward to what's coming down the line. We can enjoy the matches next weekend. And yeah, just brilliant. Delighted for the players and management, as I was saying. And yeah, good times to be a Tipperary hurling supporter, that's for sure. So that's pretty much it for this week's podcast. We're 40 minutes into it. I'll give one final reminder: if you haven't liked the video already and you're 40 minutes in, then you know, you surely enjoyed it at this stage. So give us a like, subscribe to the channel. We're nearly at 400. In terms of the podcast going forward for the next couple of weeks, there will be a little bit of a break. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I've been flat out these last few weeks. Like, you know, if we go back to last weekend in Ennis, I was in Ennis on the Saturday for Tipperary Clare. Sunday I was up in Sligo for Tip and Sligo in Tubbercurry in the Tailteann Cup. Monday I was in Semple Stadium for the minor football semi-final. Wednesday I was in the Gaelic Grounds for the under-20 hurling final with Tip and Clare. Saturday I was in Clonmel for Tip against Kildare in the Tailteann Cup, and Sunday I was in Thurles, obviously, for Tip and Waterford. So there's no games next weekend, so I'm looking, no games for us live on air on Tip FM or anything next weekend. So I'm enjoying, looking forward to a bit of a weekend off, play a bit of golf or something next weekend, and just have the feet up for those Munster Championship games. And yeah, the big one for me this week is Wednesday night, Europa League final. Big United fan, so it's been a terrible season for United, but if we could win the Europa League, that would be great. To just kind of forget about the season and win a Europa League would be brilliant. So that's not why you're here listening to this podcast, so I'll stop talking about that. But yeah, so we're going to take a break on the podcast for the next few weeks. But yeah, any comments, anything you want to get in, leave them down below. I usually respond to all the comments on the YouTube videos. And yeah, brilliant stuff for Tipperary. Buzzing for the All-Ireland series, and looking forward to the next podcast as well. So thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, the whole lot, and have a good week. We'll chat to you soon for more Tipperary hurling. Cheers.